All right. Welcome everyone to October's, barely October. It's Trout Routes 101. Learn how to use the app, learn how to master the app. We appreciate you all for joining and being here tonight. As everyone else continues to jump on, we will just go over a couple quick house cleaning type of things. So just to let everyone know, your video is off and your sound is off. We can't see or hear you, so don't worry about if you got kids or dogs, whatever it might be in the background. You are good to go. But when it comes to kind of interacting with the masterclass tonight, you do have two options here in Zoom. You've got the chat and the Q&A. We thankfully have one of the awesome members of the Onyx support team here tonight to be able to kind of help us navigate some of those questions. So let's try to make sure we get all of those questions that might come up throughout the night in that Q&A section, and then we can utilize that chat to kind of chime in where you might be joining us from, anything like that. So again, appreciate you all for being here, and we will just wait one more moment before we get things started. And before that, I will also just make sure that everyone knows you will be getting an email tonight after the class that will link you to our YouTube channel, which will be where the YouTube video and recording of this class will be posted tomorrow. So make sure if you've got anything that you want to revisit, if we moved too quickly through anything tonight or anything like that, or you jump on your app later as you're laying in bed, you're like, shoot, how do I do that again? You can always check that out tomorrow on our YouTube channel. So, all right. Moving along, we will just kind of quickly go over an overview of our agenda for the night. First off, we're going to start off by talking about membership options. I'm sure there's some of you who are basics, some of you who are pros who have joined us, and some of you who might not even have an account yet. So we will kind of walk through those different options and quickly go through those. And then we'll jump into the map layers and map modes and kind of explore the very basics of trout routes and looking at the map. And then we'll start diving into how to navigate the map and how to kind of get yourself around, find your specific location on the map, things like that. And then we will dive into the map icons themselves and the stream card that is going to be kind of the area within those specific streams that's going to house a lot of specific information for that waterway. Really powerful there. And then we will start diving into some of those more specifics. We'll keep it pretty general, being a 101 tonight, but we will dive into some of those quick top hits, which are going to be those stream gauges, offline maps, and that custom map content, and then those My Location, River Miles, and tutorial tools that are going to be along the right-hand side of the screen. After that, we will jump over into the web maps side of things, where we will kind of take things away. We'll use the iPad on a tablet for the majority of the night. It's going to mirror your phone, whatever mobile device you might be using. And then we'll jump into that web maps just to make sure that users are aware that it's there, and then just kind of quickly show off what you can do over on that side. And then after that, we are going to have our Q&A, and then I apologize, we don't have a giveaway tonight, but we are going to have an awesome giveaway coming up in November, December, and January with a couple really awesome partner brands. So make sure you join those master classes for those giveaways. We're really excited for some of those partnerships, and we should be announcing that next master class here in just a couple weeks. So make sure you tune in for those. All right, I will stop sharing this screen. And I will start sharing the tablet. Awesome. And if I could just get somebody to confirm in the chat that you guys can see the tablet screen. Awesome. Thank you, William. Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. We will keep moving quickly. So, like I mentioned, we're going to start off here with the membership, with those kind of membership options. So with that, we're going to start with what you would see as a basic member. So when you join the app, you're going to either have the option to enter that auto subscribe and start your 7-day trial, or continue as a basic member. If you do choose to continue as a basic member, you're going to be able to see some, again, pretty basic things when it comes to the app. So right now we've got that basic view pulled up. So as you can see, all of those waterways across the screen are going to be that same shade of blue. So that's going to just let you know where those trout waters are. So if you're really just starting to dip your toes into trout fishing, or you've moved to a new area and you really just kind of want to know, is there trout water near me? This is going to be a really quick, easy way to kind of start to dive into that. You can see there's a lot of trout water in this area. And we can start to see a couple of those other included icons. We can see those fly shop icons around the map as well. So that's going to give those basic users some really quick ability to find those close fly shops, which are going to harness a lot of powerful information and flies, all kinds of gear, things like that, obviously. And then we've got those partner icons you can see on the screen specifically there. We've got those rare waters properties out west. It's one of our great partners that you can actually book some private water to be able to get out and fish. So those opportunities are actually built right into the app and available to basic users. And then you can also see the stream gauge icon is on the map. You're not, as a basic member, going to have access to that data, but you still will have access to where those gauges are, so that you can kind of cross-calculate if you are going to be using the USGS stream gauge site or things like that as a basic member. When you do upgrade to Pro, you will be able to click on those and get a bunch of detailed information. We will go over that in a little bit. So that's kind of the quick overview of basic. Again, that basic view of streams and the ability to add some custom content. You will still be able to drop those markers, those fly shops, but keeping it pretty basic on the basic level. When you upgrade to Pro, you're going to get access to public land parcels and land boundaries on those waterways. Again, if we zoom in on the basic mode, you can see we don't have any of those green shaded public lands or any of that shading on the waterway itself, which we'll go over here in a little bit once we open up the guide mode. You're going to get access to stream ratings, specifically viewable through that guide mode, but you can also see that when you click into those stream cards. Again, we'll go over that here in a little bit. You'll get access to over 350,000 access points. You'll be able to see again when we click into guide mode here shortly that the screen's going to light up with a bunch of different access points, campgrounds, all kinds of things like that. You'll get access to those offline maps and then stream gauges and more, which again, we'll be exploring tonight. So let's start off with the map layers. So first, when we click into that map layers down on the bottom bar there on the far left side, you can see that's going to pull up a nice little pull up here that's going to start with map modes. So those map modes are going to be broken down into basic. Again, once you move past the basic level membership and into Pro, you'll likely not use that very often, unless, again, you are just looking to really see, is there trout water near me? As you move into those Pro map modes, we get into, as I mentioned, guide mode. Within that, you see that green shading for those public lands start to pop up, and we can see that those waterways change from just that one color of blue to multiple different colors. If we scoot down, we can see that we've got that gold color on that waterway there as well as I mentioned, if we start to zoom in on those waterways, you can see that gray shading along the river itself. So that's going to be one of the big things that you're going to get when you upgrade to Pro, and that's going to be those kind of public land boundaries when it comes to the water. So again, if we zoom in, you can see that green shading is going to help you kind of identify that public land. And then if we're looking at the waterway itself, you can see that gray shading. So that's going to help you designate, okay, the sections of water that I'm looking at that have that gray shading around them are flowing through public land, so I can safely and responsibly enter or exit the water from there. Obviously, depending on your stream bed access laws in your specific state, you might be able to work up and down from those sections, but that's going to be a really quick, easy way to kind of understand where that water is, what kind of land that water is flowing through. We'll be able to, you'll be able to see that even if we get rid of that green public lands shading layer, you'll still be able to have that quick access and kind of be able to understand where those waters are flowing through public lands. So moving along, we'll have that access layer. That access layer, if we back out a little bit, is going to be a great way to, if we jump into the legend, be able to see those easements, that state and national park land. You'll have those public lands, which if we click into the public lands, you can start to kind of see and understand what type of public land, whether it's local public land, national forest, things like that. And then we also see that we'll have those we can see, excuse me. There we go. We'll try to click on the right thing. We've got those national parks shaded those specific colors as well. So those are going to give you some really nice, easy opportunities to find those walk-in access points or those easement access points, which are going to be those, again, those sections of water that flow through private land, but private landowners have given anglers access to those specific specific areas of water. Sometimes I like to use this layer to find those sections of water that might be a little less trafficked. Some people might not know those easements might be on a county level, things like that. So sometimes that's a nice way to find sections of water that might not be covered as much and might not be fished as often. So jumping back into that map layers down along the bottom left there, we will move over into the regulations, which again, if we use that map legend, which is going to be along the bottom bar, a little bit over onto the right side, we can jump back into that legend and see this is going to be a really nice tool if you're looking for some of those overview regulations on a state-by-state basis. As you can see, we're currently hovering over Colorado. If we jump back into that map legend and start to pan around and let the map load. Let's see here, I might need to back out a little bit there. There we go. If I back out and I kind of hover there over Montana, we can see you get all of these state-specific regulations that, again, are going to be, the detail of them are going to vary from state to state. So again, that's great. Why it's great to be able to see them on a state-by-state basis. So that'll be really nice and easy viewable through the map legend there, again, on that bottom along the right-hand side. So that's kind of the quick overview of those map modes. Moving down, you can see the next layer that we've got is going to be the base map. So let's click back into that guide mode. I kind of like looking at that guide mode. Sometimes it's a little bit easier to see what we're looking at. Those colors kind of pop off a little bit more. But moving into those base maps, we will take a look at the base maps and then we'll explore that 2D and 3D maps a little bit as well. So within the base maps, we've got that road layer. So that's going to do exactly what it says and what it sounds like. That's going to show you the roads right on the map. So you can see any of those roads leading to any of those specific access points, things like that. A real quick, easy view. Again, I tend to like this view when I'm just kind of searching around the map, trying to explore areas. I find that the contrast is a little bit easier to see certain things and just is a little bit easier for the eyes sometimes. Moving along on those base maps, though, the next one is going to be the terrain base layer. For those of you who are familiar with the terrain base layer, this is going to help you kind of view it in a topographical way where you can see those contours of the land itself without viewing the map in 3D specifically. So as we pan around, you can see, especially in those mountain ranges where there's those deep contours, you can really see and understand that in a much deeper and more detailed way. So moving right along on those base maps, we've got that satellite layer right along the bottom there. So again, for those of you who are familiar with maps, this is just going to give you that satellite view so you can get a little bit more detail. One of the things that I've been mentioning to people during the month of November and just kind of streamer season in general is this is a great tool if you're looking for some of those deep pools or kind of some of those bends in some of the rivers that might hold some of those bigger fish that you might be hunting for during streamer season. This is a really powerful map layer to, or I should say base map, to be able to kind of start to explore that with. So beyond that, obviously, we've got our 3D map. So again, we'll jump back into the roads layer just to kind of start off there, and we'll then jump into 3D. You can see from here, we then get that 3D map mode that everybody loves so much. From there, we can kind of pinch and pan, and that will help us kind of change the angle we want to look at things from, depending on the steepness that you want to view it from. Again, this is going to change depending on, depending on what layer you want to look at, depending on what base map you want to use. This is going to really kind of help you get a more detailed view of the terrain that you're going to be exploring. If you're if you're living in a flatland state like I am here in the Midwest, and I was planning a trip out west, I would definitely be using that 3D maps layer to give me a little bit of an idea of what I'd be walking into on that trip. So again, we'll jump in here. You can see as we get into that satellite layer, it gets some really cool detail and can be really helpful at times. Awesome. All right. So that's kind of the quick cover of those map layers. We'll jump back to that roads and that guide mode. Again, like I mentioned, just sometimes a little bit easier to see when it comes to contrast and things like that. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is navigating the map. So that's going to be scrolling. We're going to talk about snap to state, and we're going to talk about the search feature. So when you're navigating the map, you'll be kind of using any of those few options, right? So we're going to be obviously pinching and scrolling to zoom and move around the map. That's going to be your quickest, easiest way to kind of explore new areas. Pinch and zoom to move in, obviously pinch out to move out, and just kind of scroll that way. Obviously, if we're, again, kind of exploring the West, and I am based in the West or whatever it might be at the time, but I want to explore a state out east. Let's say I want to explore some water in Pennsylvania, one of the great states when it comes to freshwater fishing. You can quickly and easily click up on that top of the left side of your screen. You'll be able to click right on that state, and that'll open a menu bar that you'll be able to kind of scroll through those different states, find the one that you want to explore, click done, and then you can see right next to that state, there's that little box, outline of a box icon. If we click that, that will quickly snap us to that state that we've selected so that we're not having to pinch and zoom and pan across the entire country. So that's a little bit of a quick hack when it comes to being able to snap quickly to the state like that. So the next kind of option that you'll be utilizing if you're looking for a waterway would be the search bar, right? So one of the nice things, one of the things I should say that you want to keep in mind when you're utilizing that search feature is to have the state selected that you are searching in. So if I were to search for Bear Creek, but I'm looking for Bear Creek in Colorado, let's see, you can see there's multiple Bear Creeks in Pennsylvania that pop up first because that's the state I currently have selected. So let's go back, and if we, let's see here. Uh-oh, must have froze the app there. We will click on that. We'll swipe out and swipe back in. And so again, if I wanted to choose and search for Bear Creek in Colorado, I would go to select Colorado, and then I'd be able to search Bear Creek, and Bear Creek in Colorado is going to pop up. So that's going to be one of those main things that you're going to want to remember when you are utilizing that search feature, is that it's going to be much quicker and much easier when you are selecting that state that you are looking to search for. All right. So it'll take us back to Colorado. Click back out. This is going to be a great state. As you can see, right now we've got all of those icons and things shown. We'll jump into the filter side of things here shortly and be able to kind of explore how you can tailor your own map to what you might want to be viewing specifically. So that's going to be the quick overview of how we navigate the map. Again, that kind of scrolling and pinching to zoom to move around. And then that snap to state is going to be a quick, easy way to explore a new state or move from state to state rather than pinching and zooming across the entire country. And then when it comes to the search feature, making sure that you have that state selected that you're looking to search in is going to be really important. So moving along, like I mentioned, the next thing that we're going to talk about is those map icons and the stream card. We'll start actually with the stream card. So when you are looking around the map, obviously we can see there's all of this water, but I don't know what these rivers are named. I don't know much about them. And the first thing that I'm going to do is going to click on one of those streams. And what happens is it's going to pull up the stream card. And so the stream card is, like I mentioned, going to be the hub for all of the information about any of the 50,000 plus waterways that we have built into the app for trout. So looking at the stream card, we'll go over some of the quick hitters here. So the first thing that you're going to see is obviously that waterway names. We've got the name, we've got the county and state that it's located in. We've got the distance that it is from the current location, if you've got your location services on. We've got the median elevation of the river, and then we've got that rating on the far right hand side across the top there. So this is again where you can see those classes. Like I mentioned, when it comes to that guide mode, that's going to be the quickest way to find those classes. But if you are utilizing either of those map modes, you can still see those ratings by clicking right into the stream card. And if we click specifically on that rating itself, that's going to be a quick, easy way to kind of remember how those classes are set within Trout Routes, as it is a proprietary classification system that we use here at Trout Routes. So this is a quick, easy way. Again, those gold medal blue ribbons are going to be your top kind of main, biggest waterways, things like that. And then those class 3s are going to be a lot of those smaller marginal waterways. If you're a big blue liner, sometimes we have a lot of people who will kind of go into it in the filters here, but you'll actually deselect all of those waterways except for those class 3s. So there's a lot of different ways to utilize those class systems when it comes to kind of, again, building the app and tailoring the app to the type of angler that you are. So moving along on the stream card here, we've got in that next row of buttons, we've got the share button. That's obviously going to give you the ability to share a stream with a friend via text. You can share that and they'll be able to use the link, pull that up right in Trout Routes if they have an account. And that's a really quick, easy way to kind of share a waterway with a fishing buddy or whatever it might be ahead of time. We also have the opportunity to bookmark a stream, so you can quickly and easily, if you tap on that stream, add it to your bookmarks, which you'll then be able to access in your My Content section. We also have the ability with those buttons to, as I swipe down the stream card there, be able to save that stream specifically for offline. This is one of the multiple ways that you can save offline maps. This is going to highlight that entire waterway specifically, where if you're looking for just one section, we'll go over in a little bit, a quick and easy way to select just one section of the river to be able to save offline. As we move down, we're actually going to be able to get a lot of deeper information here. So this is where it's nice to be able to actually grab that kind of a gray bar at the top of the stream card and swipe up. If you do that, that's going to open up the stream card a little bit further for you, and you'll be able to see a little bit more of that detailed information, especially when it comes to that graph and that elevation and slope chart. You can get a little bit more of that chart there viewable for you. So again, like I mentioned, within this first geography tab, we've got the length of the river, we've got the peak elevation of the river, that elevation change, and this average slope for the river. So, and then right below that, we've got those elevations and those slope charts. You can see we can toggle between the elevation and the slope chart. And one of the things that I think is coolest is if we actually scrub right along the river itself, you can see where those elevation changes happen along the waterway. So you can sometimes find, especially if there's dams or things like that, or even just certain plunge pools or whatever it might be, that might be a really great access point or really great fishing spot, things like that. So those are some really quick, easy ways to use that elevation chart. Moving along into the next tab, we're going to have that local information. This tab is going to give you some general season guidance. So this is going to be kind of an overview for the state seasonality. I would say it's a great thing to keep in mind, to double check before that you get out on the water. There are from times to time river or watershed specific regulations and things like that for spawning or whatever it might be, that sometimes might close a river for a short period of time, even if generally the season is open around the state. So that's just going to be that general season guidance. And we've got those next, right below that is going to be your river characteristics. So with that, if any of these three were dark shaded or kind of highlighted, so to speak, that would be designating if they were a popular waterway, if they're a tailwater, or if they had an easement on them. So this is, again, going to be an easy way to see right within the stream card if there's potentially an easement on that waterway. I would typically start to look at that section first. If it's a tailwater, it's going to be a great way to know if you can continue to fish it into the winter, things like that. And then obviously if it's popular, some people want those popular streams and rivers because that they might be known for having bigger fish or more fish or just be historical, whatever it might be. And then there's some people who, if they opened up a stream card and they saw that highlighted, they would run for the hills, right? So again, depending on what type of angler you are, those tools can kind of work in multiple different ways for you. The next tab is going to be the Fly Shops tab. So this one's going to be a really awesome and easy way to be able to find the closest fly shops to that selected waterway. So again, if you're heading out of state, or even if you're heading just across the state, you might not know what the conditions have been like that week, that month, what's been working well, what some of the access points are, if there's an access point that's closed currently, things like that. So we always recommend utilizing those fly shops to be able to get that local information. And this is a really awesome way to kind of dive into that and be able to find some of those close shops to where that you'll be traveling to, or where that you already are if you're out on the water and need some flies, tippet, whatever it might be, last minute, because you open up your bag and you go, I forgot everything at home. It's happened to me a time or two, I'll admit. That's a great, easy way, like I mentioned, to kind of find those fly shops, find those, again, you can see how close they are to the river, so quick and easy access. Next tab is going to be those stream flows. We're going to dedicate a couple minutes at least to stream gauges specifically, but as we're going through the stream card, this is a great time to call out those gauges that you can quickly and easily check all of the gauges along a river. So this is a really great way to kind of get that overview. You know, certain sections might have better conditions, and this might be a really quick, easy way to tell that, you know, certain sections above a feeder creek after a flood or after a heavy rainstorm might be better than something down below it. And this is going to be a nice, easy way, if that river specifically has gauges along it, to be able to find those and get easy access to the graphs right within that. One of the other cool things is, as you see, this one has only one gauge along the river, but it has multiple within the watershed. So we're actually pulling in all of those other gauges within the watershed. So even if this river or stream specifically didn't have a gauge, you would still be able to kind of utilize some of those other gauges within the watershed to kind of help inform yourself on what that watershed is doing in terms of some of the flows on other rivers and things like that, just to, again, give yourself a little bit of a one-up before that you head out on the water. So the next tab is going to be an awesome one for those traveling anglers. So this is going to be a really quick breakdown of those streambed access laws. Like I mentioned, depending on what state you're in, you can get in and stay below the high water mark, or you have to keep your feet wet, or if you step onto private land, you are really putting yourself at risk, and because it's simply not allowed. So there's multiple different streambed access laws, and this is going to be a really quick, easy way. So you can see in Colorado, the walk and wade type of access, if you're trying to wade through someone's private land, they don't care if you keep your feet wet. It's simply not allowed unless the landowner grants access. So this is a great way to make sure, if you're traveling out of state, things like that, that you can make sure that you're staying safe and keeping yourself and whoever that you're bringing out to the water while using trout routes with safe as well. So this is, again, one that if you're traveling to a new state, make sure that you're checking that out and make sure that you're making yourself aware of those access laws in this new state that you're fishing. And then the last tab that we'll cover here in the stream card is going to be that My Content tab. This tab is going to allow you to add notes or photos specifically to that river. This is going to be something that you can also attach to a specific marker or things like that. But this is a nice way, you know, if you have a really awesome day on an entire stretch of river and you want to, you know, keep your own notebook and kind of write a little bit of a blog entry or whatever it might be, and add some photos that you can refer back to next year when you're planning a trip in the same area or things like that. All of this information, because that Trout Routes doesn't rely on crowdsourced data, is going to stay right within your profiles, never going to be made public, anything like that. So again, this is a really nice way to be able to kind of utilize the app as your own personal fishing log to kind of remember those great days on the water, or even those bad ones. You know, you can add a photo of a broken rod to a river, I suppose, if you really wanted to. I don't think I would. I don't want to remember those days. Now I'm remembering them. I gotta stop. All right, so we'll keep it moving. So that kind of quickly covers the stream card. And next we will dive into the filters tab and kind of start to dissect some of those different icons around the map. As you can see, again, when we popped into that guide mode, we went from very little icons to a lot of icons. And sometimes it can get a little bit hectic. And sometimes you just simply don't care about camping, or you're not going to be hiking on the trip you're on, whatever it might be. And this is a fairly easy way to kind of build and again tailor, like I've been mentioning, I feel like for the last half hour, you can really tailor the app to the type of angler you are and the type of water that you're fishing. So starting out, you can see there's within those quick actions, it's really easy to reset the map to any of those default settings. So if you kind of get wild with some of those settings and you're like, oh man, I wish I could just go back to how it was when I first opened the app. That's really quick and easy. You can just reset to the map defaults, and that'll take you back to any of those map settings that you'll see here. We'll kind of be covering those basics. I actually reset the map to the map defaults right before this class. So the other is going to be clear all points. This is one that if you don't care about the access sections and you just simply want to see the waterways and be able to dive in on the water specifically and really go bare bones, that's a way to do it. We had some people who were like, the map is too cluttered. I want to be able to see the basics and that's it. I'm a map fan and I want to just dive into the maps. This is one way to do it. And if you are that person, have at it. And we've now got the quick action tool for you to be able to do so. So moving down into the next one, we are again in that guide mode. So you'll be able to see the different stream classes here within the filter and map settings that we can select. As I mentioned earlier as well, some people elect to, again, tailor their type of fishing to this. So if you are really looking for some of those popular waterways and that bigger water, things like that, you can select those class 1 and those gold medal and blue ribbon waterways and just view those. So you can just plan your trip around using those. Or if you're the other type of angler and you really want to just focus on that small water, you can select those class 2 and class 3, or even just those class 3 if you want to get real crazy and real blue lining with it. I will say there are some of these where, you might show up to a waterway and it just simply doesn't have as much water during that time of year as you would want it. And it's maybe a spring fishery or a runoff fishery, things like that. That's definitely one thing you can run into when you're targeting just those class 3s. So just know that, but this is a fun way that you can kind of challenge yourself to explore new water by just selecting what you want to view in certain waterways that way. So a fun way to kind of, again, tailor the map to yourself. So within those special filters, another couple quick, easy ways to see specific types of waterways is going to be these special filters. So within those most popular, we'll be able to select those most popular. And if we click there, you can see this filter is going to show you only the most popular trout streams in your area. So if you don't have a lot of time or you're just kind of passing through, that's going to be a filter that you can utilize to find those waterways that are known to be highly successful, highly historic, whatever it might be, hold high fish numbers, those types of things. So this is going to be a really easy filter to find some of those types of waterways in the section that you are researching. The next is going to be the fishing easements. So this is again going to be this is going to highlight any of those waterways that have easement access on them. So this could be multiple different types of easement access. So you'll be able to dive into those easements kind of in your own after that. But this is going to give you that quick, easy way to start kind of diving in. Okay, these waterways have easement access on them. Where are those easements at? Then you kind of can dwindle down the sections of water on that waterway that you might want to explore from there. The next one is going to be one that becomes really powerful during the winter, but can be powerful year round, depending again on what type of angler you are. The tailwaters only tool is going to be one that I specifically will be using during the winter when I'm traveling and I'm wanting to know, all right, what type of water is going to be open and flowing, because that water is going to be those tailwaters where you've got that water coming out of a dam, and that keeps that water flowing pretty consistently year round and into the winter, and keeps those winter fisheries open and available. Obviously, you've got those spring creeks as well in many parts of the country, but in a lot of parts of the country, that winter fishing is really built around tailwaters, and so this is a really nice quick and easy special filter to find just those tailwaters if you are in the deep depths of winter and you really need to get out and don't know where to go. So the next ones are going to be our partner content. So you can see if you, again, if you reset the map to default settings, we are going to have those Trout Unlimited events is going to be kind of one of those default on filters. So this is going to show you any of those. We usually plug in Earth Day events, things like that when it comes to TU chapter specific events to be able to help support some of those smaller state chapter initiatives and things like that. We really love being able to do that. And then one of the others, if we click it on, it really becomes powerful here in Colorado and some of the other Western states that Rare Waters currently operates in, is going to be those Rare Waters properties. Like I mentioned, they give you opportunities to just rent some access to private water. Again, going to be some potentially less touched water, things like that. But that's, again, another one of our awesome partners that has been built into the app, and you can find those properties real quick and easy. Just another opportunity for access, as Trout Routes is really geared towards access. We're just giving people and anglers more opportunities to find access on the waterways that they want to explore. So moving along, we'll unclick both of those so we don't keep things too cluttered, is going to be bridges. Bridges are going to be viewable once you click onto a specific river. So as you can see, right now, we don't see any of those bridge icons. If I click onto a specific river, I can see those bridge icons show up. So those brown bridges are going to be kind of any of those general bridges. If we click into the bridge, you can see bridge access private, or if it's a bridge access on public land, you'll be able to see bridge access public. The other icon, the other bridge icon that you saw there was going to be that orange bridge icon. So that's going to be the street view icon access. I won't jump into that. Sometimes it gets a little bit laggy when I try to do it on Zoom, so I won't try to do that tonight. But if you do, if you are following along on a mobile device and you click onto one of those orange bridge icons and click into that Street View button, that's going to take you right to Google Street View and is going to help you kind of pan around and be able to see what the access is like at those specific bridges. I know I've become a really big fan of this. If I'm just kind of like, okay, what does that specific river look like? How wide is it? Things like that. This bridge Street View access kind of shortcut is a really nice, easy way to find that real quick and easy without trying to go through too many steps when it comes to Googling that. So that's a nice little, again, shortcut and hack that not all users know about. So you're getting a one-up for being here tonight. So how about that? So zooming back out and back into the filters, we'll keep it moving with the state and national park icon. So that one is going to be one that's going to be default off. If we pan out here, you can see we've got those popped up here. Sometimes people just aren't too interested in knowing where those are if they're not specifically planning a trip around going to a state or national park. So we do have those off by default, but if you click those on within the filters, they're really quick and easy to view. They're nice little green boxes that pop up and are pretty hard to miss, I would say. So we'll go ahead and, again, keep the map fairly clean by deselecting those. So moving down into the pro layers icons. So these are going to be kind of the bread and butter icons that you're going to see around the map. And again, the ones that you can really kind of toggle on and off depending on what you're looking for and what type of experience you're looking to have and plan through Trout Routes. So that first one is going to be that public lands overlay. You can see currently there's that kind of dark shaded green overlay. Sometimes if you switch into the satellite mode or certain things like that, that green overlay can become a little bit annoying, or honestly, it can be less useful if it's on in certain map modes. So a real quick, easy way is to just toggle that off and you can get rid of all of those green overlays. But again, like I mentioned, even when you toggle off that green public land overlay, you're not going to lose that gray shading along the waterways themselves. So you can still see where that water is flowing through public land, even if you don't have that green shading on. So Some users like it, some users don't. Some users like it at times, and others don't like it when they're using the satellite layer specifically. That's kind of when we hear about it the most. So depending on what you're doing, what layer you're using, you might have that on, might have it off, and that's going to be where you'll be able to do it. Moving to the next one, this is going to be, if I had to choose a main icon in the app, obviously there's a lot of gauges and things like that across the app, but if I had to choose a main icon that if I was going to deselect all of the icons and only leave on one, this would be the icon that I would leave on. This is going to be the fishing access icon. You can see it's going to be a blue fish, or I should say a blue box with a white fish. And that's going to be, again, that main icon that you'll be able to use to find those public fishing access points. So that's going to give you quick, easy access into the river, or you will sometimes have a little bit of a walk, but that's going to give you those access points where that parking area might be, things like that. So this is going to be, like I mentioned, that bread and butter icon within the app. If we click into them, you can see the kind of recreation site, fishing access, the distance. We can quickly get directions. We can quickly create a marker specifically off of a fishing access icon, and we can share that access point really quickly and easily to a friend or a fishing mate as well. So that, again, if I had to deselect every icon within here, that would be the one that I would leave. So the next icon down is going to be your parking. So this is going to be general parking. Sometimes this is an icon that I like to turn off. It just gets a little bit cluttered in certain areas of the country, and then there's others where it's fantastic and it's incredibly useful because there's multiple different just general parking areas along a river that I would have driven by if I hadn't had the map to be able to find them. So you can, again, toggle those on or off depending on how you're using the app. We'll toggle them off just, again, to keep things a little bit cleaner while we're exploring some of the other icons. So moving down is going to be that trailheads icon. As you can see, we're exploring Colorado specifically right now, and you can see that we've got all of those different trailheads. So you can also see within those, as we zoom in, connected to those trailheads, we do have certain trail systems built into the app as well. So this is, again, a nice way to plan a trip outside of just that fishing side of things. You can plan where you're going to get to the hiking access point and what that trail is actually going to be to get to the water there in certain areas. So again, another really great and useful icon if you are planning a trip that kind of revolves around hiking or camping or things like that. Those are going to be kind of those two main icons when it comes to your kind of outdoors trip, outdoor planning, things like that. Those become really useful and can honestly take the place of websites, multiple other apps, things like that. We've had people who have been like, I was out and we blew a tire and we needed to find a campground closer than we thought. And we just pulled up the app and we were able to find public campgrounds nearby. And we were able to save our night and be able to still get on some water before that we even had to camp for the night. So a lot of really awesome stories on ways that people have utilized the campgrounds and the trailheads icons specifically. So the next one moving down is going to be those boat ramps. This is going to be huge. You know, I will say we have a large majority of our users, I believe, have elected that they're walk and wade anglers most of the time. But, you know, whether you've got a boat yourself or you've got a buddy who's got a boat, you do want to know where those boat ramps are. And so that icon specifically, if we're looking around the map, we should be able to, let's see here, find a couple of those boat ramps. And we can click in, get those boat ramps, get those takeouts, and get directions specifically to those. So that's a really awesome tool for those boat anglers for when you are obviously looking for those put-ins and takeouts. We will go over a tool later that's also really useful for not only walk and wade, but specifically those boat anglers. So you can actually kind of grab those river miles right along from takeout to put in. So we'll go over that in a little bit. That's just a little preview of that tool if you haven't already used it. So the next one down below boat ramps is going to be dams. And this is where we get into the next three icons have a little bit more granular kind of options when it comes into having them on or off. So these are actually going to be give you the option to have hide completely, have them on stream only, or show all of them. So this is going to be multiple different ways to kind of again, tailor whether you want to see all of those habitat projects, all of those trout stockings, or all of those dams at all times, or just when you've selected the stream specifically. So if we go to show all the time, we should be able to start to see some more icons pop up if we get into the right area with some stocking information and things like that. But I won't waste too much time scrolling around the map, but that's going to be kind of the overview of how to utilize some of those deeper, kind of more granular filters, whether you want to show it when the stream is selected only, or whether you want to hide them completely. So, and then the next one is going to be a tool that and a feature that a lot of people don't even realize that we've actually built into the app, because that it is one of those filters that is off by default. If you are looking for some of those alpine lakes or some of those stocked trout ponds, things like that, going into the filters and selecting Trout Lakes is going to open up a bunch of new waterways for you that you might not have even known were around, or you just didn't have access to previously with trout routes. And one of the cool things is we've built in a lot of stocking information into this in terms of the type of stocked trout. So whether it's just stocked and catchable, or we actually have been able to get species data, things like that. Again, it's going to vary from lake to lake, but you will be able to find that with those small blue dots once you've selected that within the filters. So that's a really awesome tool for those lake anglers, or even as we get into ice season, if you, it's a quick hack to be able to find some of those potential lakes that you might be able to get after during ice season. So a couple different ways to utilize the app. We're always trying to build the value there, right? So the next one right below Trout Lakes is going to be fly shops. As we've mentioned multiple times tonight, fly shops are the backbone of the fly fishing community. And, whether you're traveling to a new state or you're just looking for some new flies down the street, those fly shops are always a tool for you as a trout angler. And so we've built in as many of them as we've been able to find around the country, so that you can quickly and easily get directions and get access into those. We also, I will call out, have built in our partners, our partner fly shops. So if you are scrolling around the map and you find any of those fly shop icons that have that Trout Routes logo attached to them, that is going to designate that that is a Trout Routes endorsed fly shop. So what that means is we just partner with that fly shop. We've been able to vet them a little bit further, and we've been able to provide through that some more detailed information about the fly shop specifically right within that fly shop card. So a really nice, easy way to learn a little bit more about those fly shops, and a really great way to support some of those partner fly shops that we love and love to support and love to be able to pass support along to. So keeping it moving, those stream gauges. The next is, like I said, the next section that we'll kind of jump into is going to be about stream gauges specifically, but this is going to be where you'll be able to kind of filter how and when you see those stream gauges. So this one is going to be, again, a little bit more of a granular filter, and that's going to be able to show you on trout water specifically. So if you, obviously there's USGS stream gauges across we've also built in a couple other stream gauge networks. There's stream gauges across the country on trout water and non-trout water. You might not care about those gauges that aren't on trout water. They might be crowding your map, whatever it might be. So you can select only on trout water. You can show all. So if you're looking for other species, whatever it might be, again, trying to use the app in a couple different ways, you can have you can have access to all of those gauges and things like that. And then we also give you the opportunity to hide all of those gauges. I will say those gauges, as we'll go over, are an extremely powerful tool within the app. So I typically wouldn't hide all of them, but if you're really looking to get that bare bones view, again, you have the opportunity to do so. So the next one is going to be tributary boundaries. This one, I'm actually going to take us to the state I'm currently sitting in, and it will make it much easier. We travel over to Minnesota. And as you can see, so we have been able to build in some migratory tools for migratory anglers. We've got a lot of those kind of North Shore. We've got some of the Steelhead Alley waterways, things like that built in. So if you are a migratory angler in the Midwest, we do have some of those waterways mapped out. We are going to be eventually working on getting more of those migratory waterways mapped out in the future. I don't have a specific timeline on that, but with that, we have also mapped out those tributary boundaries. So specifically, if we're talking about the North Shore of Minnesota, those tributary boundaries often are waterfalls or things like that. And so we can quickly and easily find where those tributary boundaries are, so you can kind of understand how short of a section of river you might be able to fish before you do hit those tributary boundaries where those fish can't get past. So again, that's kind of the quick, easy way to find those boundaries if you are targeting some of those migratory waterways in the Midwest. We will, again, be building out more of those hopefully in the future here. So let's jump back to Colorado with that button across the top there, hitting that box, jumping us back to Colorado there. And keep moving on down into some of the miscellaneous. So we'll cover these pretty quickly. So that county and state overlay, that's going to be pretty quick and easy in what it sounds like. So as you can see, we've got those county overlays. If there are some again, county specific regulations that might be enacted during a specific time of year in your state, this is a nice way to be able to explore the map and be able to see those lines very clearly so that you're not accidentally exploring a river in a county that you can't even fish currently. Things like that. Again, you can toggle that on and off depending on how you want your map to look. Persistent settings, this is going to be one that I typically will have toggled on. I don't love when I set all the settings I want and then I close the app and I open the app and the settings are reset to default. I typically like to set my settings and that's probably the way that I want it for the next couple months or whatever it might be in that style of fishing that I've kind of toggled those settings to be. So this is one way that if you select that persistent settings, every time you open the app, you'll have those settings that you've set and you won't have to go through and select and deselect everything that you want to see every time that you open and close the application. So lock filters enabled. The next one down, we click into I'll make sure to note that this is a way that you can, if you, again, forget anything, but you don't want to have to leave the app, you can always click those little eyes across the app in multiple different areas to be able to dig in a little bit deeper on some of that information if you are looking for more. This is going to turn on, it'll prevent the filters from resetting to defaults when you switch the map mode types. So again, this is one that I typically like to select. If you're switching that map mode, it won't reset on you. It won't frustrate you at times, things like that. If you're like, I didn't want to view all those campgrounds, whatever it might be. So again, another one that I typically like to leave on. If you do reset that to map default settings, it is going to be off. Just know that. Snap to stream. This is one that I typically will leave off, but again, you do you. This is going to be one that if you have it selected, I will go ahead and select it. It's going to snap you into the stream quite quickly. And sometimes it can, if you're looking to view an area in a little bit more of an overview, it can be a little bit jarring and can kind of throw you off. And it might be hard to recenter yourself on where you were. So I typically will have that snap to stream turned off. And zoom fade enabled. This is one that I typically will have turned on. Again, you can always go into I. This is going to, when you zoom in and out, this is going to kind of help the map be able to decide what amount of information to show at what zoom levels. I typically have that zoom fade enabled. It will keep those really important icons prominent at most zoom levels. And as you zoom in a little bit further, it's going to be able to help you help see more of those icons and populate more icons. But again, as you back out, it's not going to keep that map super crowded and populated where you can't even see the waterways because of all of the icons. So that's a great way, again, to keep that map clean and easy to view as you are zooming in and zooming out at different zoom levels. So the next one and final one that we'll go over here in the miscellaneous section and within that filters and map settings is going to be that Google Maps default. So this is going to be able to be where you'll be able to select the mapping application that you want to be sent to when you do click to get directions on any of those icons across the map. So if you have this selected, that again, obviously, as like it says, Google Maps will be your default. So when you click to get directions, you will be sent to Google Maps, and that will be where the directions will populate. If this is deselected and you are on an iOS device, you will be sent to Apple Maps. So this is a quick, easy way if you accidentally select the wrong one, or you accidentally turn off and you're like, I don't want to go to this, I don't ever use this mapping application. That's going to be where you'll find it. We get a lot of emails about that one. So it's all the way at the bottom within those map and filter settings. So one to not forget about for sure, because that will come up at some point for most people. So that's going to kind of wrap up those map icons and the stream card. So the next thing, as we keep moving along, I know we're quickly cruising through our time here, we'll jump into gauges. So we won't spend too much time, like I mentioned, this is with this being a 101 class, but we will jump into the gauges tool here. So if you click on those gauges icons across the map, you're going to open up a really powerful set of data that's going to include your flow data, your height data, and at about half of the gauges around the map, you'll be able to get live temp data as well. And when I say live, I mean live. This is updated every 15 minutes or so. So you are seeing that real-time data. So you can rely that if you're waking up in the morning and you're checking the app for those conditions, you can trust that when you show up to the water, that's going to be pretty much what those conditions are. Unless I guess you've got a 7-hour drive to the water, then things might change. Maybe check halfway through your drive. So with that quick, easy view, once we click on that gauge icon itself, we can then click into view data to open up some of those graphs. As we can see, this graph looks like it might be pretty steady based on where we've selected. It looks like it might be above the reservoir. So we'll click one down below. You can see this one actually has temperature data. So that's a great one to select. So we can look at all of that information. And you can see when we click into those graphs, we can see all of that detailed kind of information from the flow, that height, and that temp data when it comes to those changes, as well as you can see that black line that's kind of dashed across each day. And if we go into the month, it's going to be dashed across each month. That's going to be your median flow data. So this is, or your historical median flow data. So that's going to be able to help you when it comes to the flows and when it comes to heights. And I should say when it comes to flows and temperatures specifically. This is going to be able to help you kind of find those specific medians, help you kind of understand, all right, is this kind of normal for the river, or is this an abnormal year? Again, great tool if you're from out of state and you don't specifically know how much rain that state has had or that area has had recently. This is a great way to show. If you open it up and it's twice what that black line is, you might be a little bit cautious when you're getting to that water and know that it's not necessarily the normal conditions for that waterway. So this is a really, again, quick, easy way to find all of that really powerful gauge data. We are going to be doing a masterclass later into the fall winter season that's going to be diving deeper into how to utilize the gauges and specific ways to kind of utilize them for winter fishing. So make sure you sign up for that class, because this is going to be kind of all that we'll go over when it comes to gauge data. So I will say again, though, like I mentioned, you can access those gauges by clicking on the gauge icons themselves, or if we click into the river and we go to that stream flows tab, that will again bring up all of those gauges along a specific waterway. So that's going to be kind of the quick, easy way to access those real-time river conditions, which honestly might be one of the most powerful things that we have in the app. It's one of the things that I know when I show people, it just kind of blows their mind. They're like, wait, I don't have to go navigate the USGS site and the Colorado the Colorado Department of Water site, because they have their own, of course, and things like that. So this is one easy way to find multiple different sets of gauge data right within that, right within the app there. So moving along, the next thing that we'll cover is going to be those offline maps and custom map content. So like I mentioned, within that stream card, you can save the entire waterway for offline access. But if we are just looking for a specific section of water, say we were looking to fish this, wasn't exactly confident that it was going to have cell service, we can utilize the offline maps feature of Trout Routes. by using the create button, the create tool down on the down on the bottom in the very middle there. And we can select offline maps on the left, and we can pan to select the region we want to download. And then we can select download. We can name that offline map. So you can name it the date, you can name it the trip that you're taking, whatever it might be. And if you click OK, that's going to start that download. I would try to make sure you're connected to Wi-Fi or some strong internet beforehand, and download those maps before you head out on the water. Obviously, if you find yourself in a pickle, you can try to download them with some of that lower service, but it is a great tool to use ahead of time and plan ahead. Make sure that you're prepared for any of those worst case scenarios if you show up and you don't have that cell service. So that's the quick overview of those offline maps. Again, within that create button, we've got a couple other tools though that I want to go over. The marker, custom marker. This is going to be an awesome one. Say we did jump out here. We were able to fish this bridge, it looks like potentially, and we caught a really nice fish here. You can, through the create tool, add a marker, add a name. We can select those marker types. We can select those custom colors. Again, this is where you can add those photos and notes specifically to the marker rather than adding them to the waterway itself. And this is going to be a really great, easy way. Make sure you click that save button down along the bottom to refer back to certain points at any time. So you can find those at any point within my content, which is going to be right next to that create button. And in markers, you can click into those markers and find any of those markers, lines, shapes, things like that that you create. So you'll be able to create those lines and those shapes. This sometimes, I will say, I've added a few lines for some bass water, things like that. Just kind of created my own, added to the maps, created my own maps, things like that. So a great way to be able to do that. And within the line tool, you can actually utilize this at access points and things like that, and create a line from an access point to the water and be able to see that total distance. So this is going to be one of two ways. Like I mentioned, we'll go over here in just a moment, that river miles distance calculator, which is going to be for the waterway specifically. But this line tool is going to be another way that not all users know that you can quickly and easily find distances. So again, this is one you can use if you see that the access point is a good walk from the river. You can quickly and easily find this, that distance through that line tool there as well. So another quick, nice, easy way to utilize that line tool, even if you're not saving that line for anything specific. So that kind of covers the create custom content. So again, that custom content is going to be available to everything but offline maps is going to be available to basic and pro users. But when you upgrade to pro, you will get that access to offline maps. All right. And the next topics we're going to cover, we're going to jump into my location, that River Miles tool, like I've been mentioning a couple times, and tutorials. So those are going to be those tools that you can see along the right-hand side of the screen. So you can see on at the top there is going to be that arrow. That is going to be if you have your location services turned on. If you click that arrow, that will jump you to where your location currently is. This is a great one for if you're out on the water and you want to add a marker to your exact location. You can use that tool to be able to find yourself. Even if you don't have service, you'll still be able to utilize that satellite to find your location and add that marker there, as well as just if you need to kind of center yourself on the map if you're out on the water or you're out on a trail kind of exploring. That's a really quick, easy way to center yourself and be able to find where you're at specifically, as long as, again, you have those location services allowed. So I will skip on clicking that one because I am at home tonight. As much as I want to show everyone my location, I'll pass on that tonight. So we will continue with the tools on the right-hand side with the River Miles tool. So like I mentioned, this is going to be a really awesome tool for a walk-in wade angler or an angler who is using a boat. So if we were a walk-in wade angler, one way, let's say, that we could use this is you could select 2 different points along the river and be able to just understand, all right, if I got in there and I wanted to wade all the way up to where that public section starts to end, things like that, that might be about a 0.3 mile walk and wade. Let's go find a larger river that's going to have some boat ramps on it. All right, so it looks like we found one here. And it looks like, let's try to find, there we go. So if you are in a boat, this is, again, like I mentioned, an awesome tool that you can utilize to find those boat ramps along the river. Scoot along. That's where that other boat ramp was, getting hidden by those campgrounds. And you can see that would be a fairly long 11.9 mile float. So that's, again, a really nice way to where that line tool is going to show you that kind of bird's eye distance calculation. This is going to be a tool that's going to be able to show you that exact river miles calculation, so with all the turns and twists and things like that. So whether you are planning out that walk and wade trip and want to know how long a section of water that you're interested in might be, or you're planning out that boat trip, you can utilize that tool in a couple different ways to be able to find the distances along a river. And the final tool along that right-hand side there is going to be our quick tutorials tool. So this is, again, another section that a lot of users don't necessarily know about. And when they find out about it, they're like, I wish I would have known about this the whole time. This is going to be a really nice way to, if you forget anything, or if you are wondering, how do I, as you can see at the top there, how do I get the most out of Pro? How do I read the guide mode map? How do I see live readings of river flows? If you click into these tutorials, you'll get a step-by-step tutorial that will help you understand those different features and help you get deeper into them. So as I mentioned, this is that 101 class. We've already hit the hour mark, so we're trying to cruise things as much as we can. So we can't dive too deep into some of these features, but that is going to be a great way to start diving into those features. And then make sure you tune back in for some of our feature-specific masterclasses that we'll be having over the next few months as well, that we'll be diving in deeper specifically on some of these awesome features. So that's a great way to kind of get the ball rolling on some of that stuff, though. All right, so that kind of wraps up everything with the mobile app. So I'm going to stop sharing that screen, and I'm going to go ahead and reshare my screen with the desktop maps. Can I get another quick confirmation in the chat that everyone can see the desktop maps still? Awesome. Thank you, Lisa. We'll stay here in Colorado. We've kind of been here all night. Again, I promise the app works across the entire lower 48, but Colorado's got a lot of great water and it's pretty easy to explore that way. So we've now jumped over into the web-based maps. So this is if you're planning out a trip ahead of time and you want that bigger screen real estate, whatever it might be. I love utilizing our web-based desktop maps, whether you're using them, again, on your desktop, on your laptop. I love using the web-based maps because it offers that bigger screen real estate, just a little bit easier time to kind of plan those trips in advance. Again, sometimes users might not even realize that they have the opportunity to dive into the maps on their computer. So this is one I want to make sure that everyone, first off, knows that they can go to maps.troutroutes.com/login. You'll be able to log in with your current credentials, or if you don't have an account yet, set one up there. And you'll be able to jump in onto the web-based maps, which again, offer that bigger screen real estate, sometimes is a little bit easier to plan those trips ahead of time. A couple things that I want to show when you're looking at the web-based maps quickly is going to be those tools. You'll find those tools along the right-hand side. When it comes to the tools that you've got quick access to on the web-based maps, you're going to have the first one being that River Miles tool that we did just go over. So click once, click twice, going to give you that distance along a specific section of water. The next one is going to be to add that custom marker. We can drop that marker. It's going to give you the opportunity to select a custom color, select that icon, name. It's going to give you the, again, area for notes and photos and the opportunity to save. So this is something that we've cleaned up quite a bit over the last couple months. So we're really excited about this, the cleanliness of this tool feature and the usefulness that it can add for users. So you can see there, creating lines, creating shapes, whatever it might be, that's going to be quickly accessed right along that top right-hand side of the screen. Continuing along the right-hand side of the screen there, we've got obviously our compass. If we want to make sure you're kind of recentering yourself and know which way is up and which way is down, that's going to be the quick, easy way to do so on the web-based maps. And you can scroll in and scroll out to zoom in and zoom out, or you can utilize the zoom in, zoom out function right along the right-hand side there as well. And right below that, we are going to have that 3D toggle on or toggle off. So if you see 2D, you are on 3D, and if you see 3D, you are on 2D. So as you can see, when we click into 3D, that opens up another toggle there to kind of pan yourself down to be able to get that better angle, things like that. So that's going to be kind of those right-hand side tools. If we want to then click into a new layer, that will be along that right-hand side. You'll be able to click in and select that satellite layer, which again can sometimes be a little bit more fun when it comes to the 3D maps and things like that. And again, you'll have the topography layer, click back into the roads layer. That's going to be your map layers. Along that left-hand side as well, you'll have access to that My Content. So that's going to be your favorited streams, your markers, your lines, and any areas that shapes that you've created. My Profile, it's going to be exactly what you would expect. It's going to give you the same information that the My Profile section will within the mobile version. Map Filters, like we mentioned earlier, this is where you're able to kind of really dive in and create that mapping experience. The web does have a few less filters, a little bit more limited when it comes to the filters, but still a ton of ability to customize your map there. And then that good old legend anytime you need to refer back to it. So, all right. So that kind of quickly covers the web-based maps, as we are getting pretty deep into the class here. So I will go ahead and stop the share, and we will dive in to some questions once I get the right screen reshared. Thank you all again for joining us tonight. We appreciate it. And there we are. So again, we made it through our entire agenda there quickly in an hour and 10 minutes, I will say. So that was a lot of information. There are obviously more ways to learn outside of, again, that class is going to be emailed. You're going to get an email to our YouTube channel link, which the class will be posted on our YouTube channel tomorrow. So make sure if you do need to refer back to it, that it'll be there at any time. So watch out for that tomorrow. We also have those in-app tutorials that we went over. We also have some additional demos on our YouTube channel. We are hoping to dive a little bit more into that this winter and get some more of those demos up outside of just these master classes. So make sure you keep an eye out for those. And then we've got some more master classes coming up, obviously. So both those old ones that you can refer back to on YouTube. We've got a really awesome streamer fishing 101 from last fall that we did. If you're in that streamer fishing mode, make sure to check that one out with Joe and Bradley from the Fish Travel Film Crew. Oh man, they're going to kill me for getting their name wrong. But that's an awesome one to refer back to from last fall, as well as, like I mentioned, we've got a bunch of awesome new master classes coming up. We're hoping to be able to do 2 a month through the month of March. So it should be a monthly 101 as new things come up. These 101s can be useful to do every few months for users, as well as some of those, like I mentioned, those brand partnerships, sponsored master classes where we'll be diving into some of the specifics when it comes to winter fishing and getting prepared for next season and things like that as we kind of head into next spring and get ready for next year. So we will now move into the question and answer portion, and I will jump over into my questions list here and see what our awesome Onyx support team has gathered. So what is the best way to find boat launches? It's a great question. Right now, the easiest and best way to find boat launches is going to be to kind of pinch and zoom and find those boat launches along the specific rivers that you want. I will say sometimes those boat launches don't get prioritized above certain icons. As you could see earlier, we had that camp icon was kind of taking priority over the boat ramp icon. So sometimes you will need to deselect some of those icons to really help yourself find those boat ramps and make those stand out a little bit more. But it is definitely a great note that they are going to be kind of the easiest to find through that pinch and zoom method. We don't specifically have any way to toggle through those boat ramps by themselves at this point. Awesome. Next question, what qualifies a stream to appear on trout routes? I.e., how are they selected? That is a great question. It's a it's a question that can get pretty in depth pretty quickly. So I'll keep it on the overview level. We take multiple different databases, whether it be national, state, local level. We take TU studies, things like that. And our mapping team has kind of cross-collaborated all of those and created the maps utilizing all of those different databases that pull in those cold water fisheries. And that's kind of how we've pulled in a river specifically. And then when it comes to those classifications, as you can see, we do have some of those explanations in the app itself. But those gold medal and kind of blue ribbon are going to be your top performing streams that have the most viable trout habitat, the highest trout per mile numbers, things like that. And then those class 2 and class 3 are sometimes rivers that are connected to those gold medal or class 1 streams and are maybe seasonal streams in certain states, things like that. But the majority of them should have water flowing year round. So again, once you get into that class 2, class 3, it does get a little bit exploratory, we'll say. So make sure you're not necessarily building an entire trip around a one class 3 stream, and know that you might need to pop around to a couple class 3 or class 2 streams to find the more productive ones. So that's what it comes with when it comes to blue lining, right? So next is how to turn on the still water layer. Yeah, so again, I can certainly share the screen again. Let's see here. Awesome. All right, so when it comes to turning on that still water or Trout Lakes layer, that's going to be in the filters along that bottom right-hand side. And if we are at the top here, we're going to scroll down into the Pro Layers section. And near the bottom of that Pro Layers section, you'll see that Trout Lakes filter. And that's where you'll be able to toggle that on. And that will then turn on all of those little blue icons that will designate those Trout Lakes. So that's kind of the quick, easy way, is going to be in that filters, toggling on that Trout Lakes filter. All right. Next question is, does location follow you? Are you able to add markers, draw lines, etc. when you are offline? So first, does your location follow you? Yes. If you have that, if you have your location services turned on, your location will be available at any time, as long as you don't have to have necessarily that data connectivity. You just need that satellite connectivity. So most of the time, even if you are offline, you will be able to still ping for your specific location. So if you have those offline maps saved, you'll still be able to see exactly where you are on those offline maps, which comes in handy when you are utilizing those create tools offline, because you can do that. You can drop those pins, you can create those lines. Any of those kind of custom content tools are going to be available offline. All right. Well, it seems like that is the last of the questions that we've got to go through. So again, I just want to say thank you to everybody who joined us and stuck around with us tonight. We had a really awesome class. Felt like we got into some really awesome topics, and it seems like I did an all right covering everything. We didn't have too many additional questions. So make sure you are keeping an eye open for those classes that'll be coming up here over the next few months. We've got some really exciting ones, and we hope to catch you on the next class. Thanks, everyone.